What it is basically a valve with a pilot light on the top. So the first thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to light the torch.
What are your regulators set at?
My regulators right now are set at 10 for the, yes, it snaps like that every time. Don't ask me why. The regulators on here, I have the oxygen set at 15 and I have the acetylene set at 10. And that's mainly, if I was doing regular gas welding, I would set them at 10 and 10. But since we have the rosebud tip, you use a hell of a lot more oxygen here to, it's just to keep the pressures sort of even and whatnot. The gas saver allows us to instantly turn off the gas. So you can do this. You can do this alone. Basically, you have your piece with vice grips, and you're ready to do the next heating cycle. You just pick the torch up, and it's on. You put it down, and it's off. So you waste a lot less gas.
That's something you can get commercially?
Yes, this costs about $90.
Oh, I thought Randall made it.
No.
You never know.
Also, on the inlet valves to the torch, we have blowback arresters. I highly recommend them, for any gas welding on here. The hammers that we have are pretty standard, pretty standard raising hammers. This is one of the ancient Lynch hammers, but these two are chipping hammers, commercial chipping hammers that have been cut off and then reshaped into raising hammers.
Do you want any of yours?
Yeah, that one. Unfortunately, an old apprentice of mine found this in a scrap bucket in France. Sorry.
So the stuff that we're showing off here is going to be hot raising techniques that apply to pretty much any of these shapes that require this kind of contraction. If you think about greaves, that's another example where this could be used.
If you're looking for greaves, unfortunately that's a cheater. That's two pieces welded down the center.
I'm trying to think what other situations.
Wrist on a
Pretty
tulip
much
pen brace.
anywhere, where you've got to be able to move the metal around. And we could actually show some, like on your helmet kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Or the big
This is just the
bassinet.
example that we've been working on.
We want to talk about the pattern at all?
A little bit. Obviously, what we're trying to end up with is the hourglass gauntlet shape, 14th century. This was carried on into the 15th century in some way, shape, or form. These kinds of shapes were carried through to the 16th century into the jousting, guards, and main de fers. What we did is we used the examples of the ones that we had made previously by fabrication and laid out a pattern basically
By
taking this and just sort of rolling it along and tracing it out. And we ended up with it as a pattern. It's interesting talking to Wade, Will Wilshire, who's working with Master Eldred and another fellow out there, and they came up with kind of a similar pattern. So it's always interesting to see the evolutions of these things through different shops.
They work theirs differently than we did.
Yeah.
They basically rolled it into a cylinder just like this and riveted it on the inside, and these can either be permanent rivets or temporary rivets depending. They heated in the middle and tried to push down.
Yeah, starting with the wrist.
And we start at the edge and go in from either side.
one of the things you'll notice on all of these, they have an area where the edge is not affected essentially. And what I'm trying to do is use the shape itself for its structure. You know, as long as this is unmoved around, it keeps a consistent band that'll mostly keep it in shape. And so I'm starting about 3/4 of an inch here. And actually we should get the pipe sting. It's going to be a little low, but so it's. I mean, this is really good for starting it on. You know, we're working on the. You know, instead of trying to push it on this way, we're working it off. We're starting here. As with any raising, you want to do comparatively small sections. It allows you to control the shape. If you try to move too much at once, you tend to really deform it. That's where the wrinkles come in. And once you get a fold or a wrinkle in your work, unless you catch it right away, you pretty much can plan on throwing it away. I mean, it's not worth trying to undo it. It does more damage.
We also found out in the course of this, from working from the front and the back, we'll end up with a bulge right in the center. The first time we tried working that down just by raising, and we almost got a fold. What we ended up switching to is a broad, rounded hammer. When you get this bulge formed, you basically just take that down. Nice and even across it, and then continue on with your raising.
How many hours of work is that gauntlet right there?
This one?
Yeah,
took us
2 hours.
like 2.5.
That was
a little bit
from-
more with the cleanup. I went back. Well, what's funny is I'm left-handed. Chuck is right-handed. We ended up with pretty nice shape because we alternated working on this. It's got a good even shape. The wrist has an oval cross section. It's oriented correctly. When I did this one on my own, and it came out off. It's like, okay, so is it because we didn't both work on it, or is it? Don't know. Hard to tell.
This, I believe, is the one that I've been working on. This one is spring steel, and it's got a twist in the other direction. So,
So then
obviously, we need more practice.
another hour. I went back at this one for about another hour, and was able to correct the problems and neck it in. This one you'll see is big.
Yeah,
You know, I can pretty much put it exactly.
Yeah.
And this one, with another couple passes, fits.
What's really
About
satisfying
3
is
hours.
that if you look at the pair of gauntlets that's in the Walls collection,
Which I have pictures of.
and we have pictures over there, this is so close to that gauntlet, it's scary.
On the table there should be a couple of white binders. One of them says...
Pictures, Aaron?
What?
Springbrook.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's really good is to have references. Is you need to be able to look at what the original pieces were like to get a feel for where those volumes occur, you know, how the shaping across the knuckles is, whatever that shaping that you're trying to achieve. Part of it is looking at the original pieces. The other part of it is practice drawing. I mean, the more you can get used to drawing these shapes, the better you can sort of make that connection between your mind and your hand and your eyes. And it's being able to see this stuff and the details that go in with it is pretty important. So if you want to look through these, they're useful. Yeah, I didn't get the top. So, don't worry too much about trying to get the details of like the thumb. I mean, you need to get the major work, the major formation work done. before you worry about the details. You got to pay a little attention to that volume there eventually, but at least initially, you know, you don't have to too much. I do like to try to mark where it occurs, just so I can be aware of it.
You'll also notice that we're using soapstone. Soapstone is going to stay there through using the torch, so you can keep your lines. You just go back over them. If you're using Sharpie, you're just going to burn it right off.
Yep. Well, where do you want to start?
Well, center back.
Back of hand or wrist or cuff?
Or cuff. I was looking here.
Yeah, this is one of those, in some ways it's counterintuitive, is that as you're working on it for the first couple of passes, it bears no resemblance to a gauntlet.
It's ugly.
It's just, it's like, this is never going to work. And then you hit a point where you've taken the middle lump down a couple of times, you've done a couple of passes, and all of a sudden, you can see it. It's this, it's really kind of a nice magical moment.
Question. Does it have to be heated to a particular color before you start working it?
Orange?
Okay, orange.
I wouldn't go much hotter than that. Just here you can see. And you'll want to be a little careful not to stare directly at the plate.
Yeah, you'll get lovely burning. Yeah, it's nice and hot. All right, nice and low.
So, yeah, first pass. You just end up chasing it around.
You'll notice that when I put the torch back, when I light the torch, I come from underneath. If you, we found that if you go at it from above or side to side, it has a tendency to blow out the pilot light. And I'm not really striking very hard.
Yeah, it's much lower now. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
We changed the plate used to be on the table over here, and so it was at a nice height.
To go back to the
You want to move your hammer, Chuck? Big broad, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be raising on that tip.
We might have to build an extension or something.
Yeah. See if we got anything else in here.
What about that white?
None of these are really going to work.
What about that white?
Yeah, except you're really good. And that's set up for the European steak. No, that's set up for the big ball steaks and stuff. It'll be fine.
Now towards the inside of the wrist, when I get in here, there's not very much necking, but I can come in fairly far.
the end of the transition from the thumb there.
Make sure you have good gloves for this too, because they start getting hot. Hey Randall,
Yes?
can we get the quench bucket out here?
It's actually out here, right over here, behind the garden. I filled it with clean water last night. It was fermenting. Had nice little bubbles in it.
Thanks.
Do I want to plug? Oh.
First pass is always funky.
And the whatchamacallit, the quench bucket, I actually find more useful for,
Yeah, we will.
for cooling off my glove
Yeah, and the pliers.
and the vice grips.
Yeah, you don't wanna put the metal in there. So, flip it around. We'll start working on the other side.
Here, why don't you, you need the other hand. We also have a center line down the center of the back of hand.
Which actually looks a little off.
Say what?
It's a little off.
Well, we're only working an area that's about 3 to 4 inches wide and maybe about an inch thick. Yours is look at some blocks.
Do you have to use different hammers for the process, or just preference?
Personal preference, and yes, you will. There are different places where I want to achieve different kinds of force.
We're thinking about I'm a little worried about this getting almost
The back of hand will probably take a couple of passes to get to the same point that the wrist is at, or the cup is at.
the leather strap.
how much weight do you lose the scale?
You know, we never did an accurate weight.
Yeah.
We tried playing around with it, but
I started one of them, the 18 gauge one in stainless. 1,001.3 So I think you can probably take that road, that's it. The real ones are
All right. Exciting.
Hey, Dad, you see this is easy? 1,600?
I don't think it's going to be a little higher, but we actually want the diameter at this point. Thanks. Well, he had a slightly higher bighorn, but the diameter is narrow. You've got to move fast, but you don't have to move, you know, super fast while you're doing this.
And a lot of it is, it's sort of a combination of working in midair, and then once you've sort of got the plane that you're trying to work, I then lay it pretty much against the stake and am working down to that point. What if I can help it?
Probably one.
I will need to re-grind it a little bit just to get it to fit in there better.
Well, the pocket on that one's broken out. That's why it's doing it.
Okay.
When I make the new plate,
Well, would it fit in this next hole any better?
no, too big.
As he gets closer to the wrist, after this, probably next time around,
Yep.
we'll probably have to take that bulge down in the middle.
Is that what you're doing now, taking the bulbs down?
No,
Not
he's still
quite.
on the next
It's
bit.
still-
Get to a point where, you know, at this point, the bulge is not real pronounced. You know, we haven't gone in
Right.
real deep. Where's a good
There we go,
spot?
that's perfect.
So you can see it's, you know, maybe 3/8 of an inch or a half inch up. We're getting pretty close to a point. I want to bring it around a little bit on this side. Obviously, you know, with a well-tended forge, you could obviously do the same set of processes. It's just convenient having the controlled torch. Yeah, so, and I think that's, once again, about the point where we would start to push this down. And this is also the point that you really have to be pretty careful. This is a chance, you have a pretty good chance to fold it over if you let the bulbs get too big. Just fighting with the pliers. Here. Actually, we'll just move around with it.
I thought you wanted to take a
I'll come back and get the worst stuff.
It's a gauntlet fit for the elephant man himself.
Yeah, it's sort of a hook at this point. But you can see it doesn't really look like much at this point.
If you don't have like a gas saver, but you have a friend that is in the shop, you can heat up an area or have them heat up the area, you know, pass the torch off to them, and then you can go right over there. You'll probably use a little more gas, but you'll still be able to keep working. Yeah.
I think I need to invest in one.
Mine was $90, and that was 10 years ago.
They're over 100. It doesn't come up a lot.
Yeah.
It's all the hot work that I'm playing with. I'm getting the light and stop.
So, I mean, that's really the first pass.
So we've got maybe, what, a quarter of an inch?
Yeah, but it's enough to break the plane.
No, we don't have much there, but now you're refreshing your lines.
Just try to keep giving yourself reference points. So, all right, you want to catch the next one, or?
I'm actually going to try that bigger hand. Drop it down. That might be kind of a nice.
I saw him on, the gas car, without the work for myself. I don't do that much.
He was just sitting there with like a bit over $100.
Okay, well, so that was, they were over $100. I thought they were closer to $200. So Still kind of sound, yeah, still sounds spiky anyways. Anyway, but,
You're fine.
yeah.
Nothing broken, huh?
No.
Punched it in a little bit too much. Say what?
I'm trying to figure out something to hold that thing down.
Yeah.
Do you have a pipe clamp, Randy?
Unfortunately, we have one. No pipe.
Oh.
That was the first thing I thought of.
There's no pipe in there?
Yeah, punch that starter right down. Actually, I'm gonna go back to the answer. One area I punched in just a hair too much.
Yeah. Catch your mistakes early and you can save it. Let them go. It'll turn into a pole very quickly.
Some of that.
Just work around it. Any questions, people, observations?
Question is the force of the blow pretty much where I want it.
Now, eventually, I'll do a fair amount of it with the edge of this. And you can actually get a little planetary reaction at the same time. Or with this, just a broader face. But like this one ends up being more corners and edges than I care for initially. I have no idea if they would have done them hot or medium. They would have been taking blanks and working them cold. I just, no idea.
I think, knowing what you can control on a forge,
Yeah.
I think they would have gone for the same level of efficiency that you are, because I've done the hot raising with the forge, and as long as you arrange it properly, it's almost the same kind of heat focus. You just have to put the work to the heat.
And it's not, I don't think it's a weird idea for them to have made a focusing plate, something with a hole in it, so you really could have gotten either that or if they wouldn't have been using coal, they would have been using charcoal likely. And you can't bake that the same way. You can't, like with coal, you can at least get kind of a cave, and you can kind of control the shape of the fire that way. You can do it with
I use coke tea, which doesn't act like charcoal.
exactly.
You know the biggest thing with doing this. You know the biggest thing with doing this is you just gotta try it. You know. It's not.
There really is nothing mysterious about it. I think with any of these projects that seem a little intimidating, just by the sheer fact of not being familiar with the process.
Let me show you.
First, probably 2 years of our career, or however you want to think about it, trying to figure out ways to mass produce this stuff and to do shortcuts. Well, what we skipped was actually learning how to build the armor. And so there are ways of mass producing this stuff. Unfortunately, most of them preclude this kind of mechanism. Is that, ultimately you've got to learn how to shape it, how to get the depth, how to do these things. You'll find that in most cases sheet metal doesn't want to form over a elbow cop shaped piece of metal very conveniently. Or it takes so much labor to get it to that point that when you're done with it, it's not really worth the effort. I don't know where you were going, but that's what I learned from it.
Well, the other thing is that it just never seemed quite right. And you're working in 1/4" steel to make a form, and that's dang difficult. Tell them about it. Is that yours? You've taken too big a bite. Have some fun. Why don't you have some fun? People want to start learning how to race. There's always a copper. Copper is really easy to form. You can do it cold. You heal it every once in a while. This is going to be a very deep vod. And what's fun about those is I've got an entire profile template that you can put inside as you're raising. I had to find this area because now you can pull that around. It's going to be very difficult to get back into the plan. could measure the thicknesses of the metal off of the wall of Gauntlet, you might be able to tell if it was raised or not. If it's thicker at the wrist, oh, lefty.
That was what was allowed you to get the measurements.
You able to do that?
Yeah, museums have no trouble with ultrasonic gauge.
Right, so no scratching. Right.
That'll be warm there. Careful.
Yeah, thank you. Every time you've been there, you bought another one? Just ground it down. Okay.
Well, in the future, we'll replace it with statement here.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah. Now, ideally, it would be nice to have this set up on the left-hand side for Aaron to work.
It's not bad. Actually, I think this is probably the best setup yet. This is pretty easy to use.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to move the camera over there to see it from a different angle at another point.
Probably taking a deeper cut on this.
Figure a different angle would show different things.
I did
Only slightly.
I don't know if it's actually a strong care.
Yeah.
Chad, I'd like to do that. I'd like to take a copy. I want to play with it. Send that to me now when we're done.
Yeah.
Right. I sent him that camera.
So the bulge on this one is a little more pronounced than the last time. Randall, get in there.
What's
The bulge is a little more pronounced. Use the ball-faced hammer. You can kind of work it in from both sides. Work it down. It always seems kind of anticlimactic. It doesn't follow the lines of the rest of the backhands. It goes flat. It always seems like you're doing a lot more work. But we really do want to not push that in too aggressively.
Change tape, but I'm sure. You're gonna have to change tape, so much more.
Oh, is it about 11:30, 12 o'clock?
Yeah, 11:53. Hey Doug, this is hot raise. That took about 10 minutes.
Really? Hot raising copper.
Yeah. Like
What's that brass?
grass, I don't know. That was like
That'd be a challenge, yeah. Send me anything you want.
So, is it straight edge? Yeah, so now we're at maybe a half inch at this point, which doesn't seem like a whole hell of a lot, but
we've only been working on this for an hour.
yeah.
Okay. Now the one that was the deepest.
Tell me. Do you want an extension cord? See?
I've still got 61 minutes of battery left, and it's only about
You're
a little
about
bit okay.
right. The one that was finished is about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter deep. So
There we go.
we're almost halfway there.
Pretty much round at this point. So we're not getting any weird deformation. We're also not, we don't have
I look at it all the time.
Yeah, we have
wearing across the back of the hand. So fairly soon we're going to have to start working that. Redefining the.
We're gonna take a break now. Let's see. Randall was gonna organize a pizza run. It's now about noon, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to get hungry. So, if why don't we get people that would like to do the pizza thing to talk to Randall?